Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast. I am your host, Dr. Rose Alcaton, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. I have personally been suffering with PMDD for over 19 years, and I published my dissertation directly towards the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who are suffering with PMDD. So although I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, which is an approximately 1 in 20 women, makes you want to break up with your partner every single month right before your period, I also provide services and counseling services and programs specifically designed for partners for what they are going through with being in a relationship with someone who struggles with PMDD. There are so many aspects that affect PMDD relationships, whether it's PMDD rage, whether it's intrusive thoughts, whether it's just you not getting your needs met in your PMDD relationship and feeling like breaking up is your only option. I am here every single week to give you my signature trauma transformational tools that are going to help you and your PMDD partner to get through all of the stress that is going on in your PMDD relationship. And if this is something that you know that you need help with, then you need to join the PMDD Power Couples Group Counseling Membership. This is when we meet every single week. We go over what is specifically going on in your PMDD relationship, and you'll get a chance to get my customized PMDD counseling transformational tools. And then also, if you need a private session for you and your partner, you can go to inlovewithpmdd.com and get those PMDD relationship reset sessions. This is where I have private sessions with you every single week, every single month. We're checking in, we're mapping out your PMDD relationship. So let's get into today's episode. Today, I want to talk to you about how the partner you choose is going to impact the PMDD symptoms that you have. And I really wanted to talk about this because I'm traveling right now. I'm in San Diego at a conference, and I'm talking all about trauma and suicidal ideations. So part of me being a trauma psychologist, I specialize in PMDD, but I also do a lot of speaking engagements, bringing awareness to the impact of trauma and how it really translates to suicidal ideations and giving people tools as to what they can really do about it. And I had a client call yesterday, and it really made me think about how much the partner you choose really does impact the specific symptoms that you have. So I am currently in PMDD, and these days I really am having to track a lot more closely because my symptoms aren't as magnified. And I'm not going to lie, I had a lot of fear about saying that. I had a lot of fear and reservations about saying that I'm not suffering as much with my PMDD symptoms now that I am in. Well, okay, first, let me tell you, if you go back to the podcast episode where I'm talking about how I don't want a partner, I want a companion. And that's just what I know that I needed for this phase of my life. And I have that now. And I'm just monitoring very closely, how I'm feeling in my luteal phase, how I'm feeling in my follicular phase, how I'm feeling in ovulation, all of these things that I never really did when I was choosing a partner before. I never really monitored how much my PMDD was impacted prior to getting into a relationship with someone. So part of my dating process, which has happened over the course of this year, and some have worked and some have not. And I've met amazing people, and I've met people that I know my PMDD or me having premenstrual dysphoric disorder was a disqualifier for certain people, meaning this was not going to work because I have PMDD. Not that they're a bad person. I don't think any of my exes are bad. I don't think anybody that I've dated is necessarily a bad person. They just weren't the right person for me for having PMDD. And I had to just be really honest with that and say, this is not going to work. It was a me thing. It was a very reflective thing. And what I will say is when you get with a partner or you're in a relationship with someone that is not for you, meaning long-term with having premenstrual dysphoric disorder, they still teach you a lot. All of my exes taught me so much, and they almost were like a mirror of things that I really had to deal with personally. And that's why I'm so grateful for it. One of the biggest things that my ex had me come to the realization that I needed to work on was getting offended. That was my biggest thing that happened when I was in my luteal phase. When I was in PMDD, I would get so offended, get so sensitive, get so triggered. And that was something that I had to work on. That really had to do a lot with what I know that I'm able to handle. And what I mean by that is there were certain things because of the childhood that I have had that I just cannot deal with, tolerate in relationships. And I'm trying to be very careful with my words because I want to make sure that you're understanding where I'm coming from when it comes to PMDD. It's not that if your partner triggers you that you're with the wrong person. It's if your partner triggers you and that brings something up to you, you need to be able to work through that. You both need to be able to work through that. And so the first thing that I do for my private clients is I always ask them, what are the triggers that you're having? What is it bringing up when you're in your luteal phase? Because honestly, if it brings up something, if you're saying that hurtful words are one of the things that damages you the most, and this could be for the partner that has PMDD and the partner that doesn't, if hurtful words is the thing that damages you the most and you're both willing to work on that, then you can have an amazing PMDD relationship. So the only way that this won't work when these triggers come up and these things that you really need to work on is if you're both not willing to do the work. And so if I come to you or you come to me and you say that you want tools, let's just use hurtful words. That is the most common one. So if you're listening and you're thinking to yourself that, hurtful words are the thing that damages your PMDD relationship the most, meaning maybe your partner goes off on PMDD rage, or maybe your partner's just irritable, or maybe your partner's not even as vocal, but they just say it under their breath and they say some of the most hurtful, nasty things to you in the luteal phase. And it's just something that you cannot get over. And it does a lot of damage because words linger. If you're my private client, you know that we work very heavily on hurtful words. I did a whole workbook on that when I had the PMDD Breakup Proof Academy. I did a whole session on that. And if you have joined or if you are joining the PMDD power couples, this is one of the biggest things that we're going to be working on because hurtful words stick. And so for me, it wasn't even necessarily the words that were spoken. It was the tone in which they were spoken. When someone yells at me, when someone curses at me, even if it's out of frustration, even if it's not cursing at me, if it's cursing towards me, if that's their way of handling conflict, that's a trigger for me when I'm in my luteal phase. And it brings another side of me out that I never want to see again. Honestly, when I went off on PMDD rage, I remember saying to myself, I never want to see this side of me again because it's so out of character. It's the opposite of who I am as a person. And PMDD has a way of bringing you out of character and bringing this other version of yourself out. So I would ask you, or to ask yourself, what does PMDD bring out in me that I never want to see again? It could be you shut down, you get really avoidant. It could be, I had a phase of doing that. My ex used to call it going internal. And I didn't like that side of myself. And I used to call myself an introvert. And I used to say that I was avoidant. And I really wasn't. It was the overwhelming stress that I was going through that was causing me to want to shut down. It was causing me to want to hide. That was causing me to want to disassociate. And I learned that was something that I needed to work on. Calling myself avoidant, thinking that I had an avoidant attachment style. Even if you go back on the podcast and you listen, I talk so much about having an avoidant attachment style. And that was something that I had to heal in order to become secure. And the biggest thing I had to ask myself, what am I hiding from? And what I was hiding from. And when I did the work on that, because I literally counseled myself and did the work on that, I'm like, what are you really hiding from when you're getting avoidant, when you're shutting down? And it was emotional safety. I didn't feel safe. And that really took me back to my childhood and the trauma that I had. And when I didn't feel emotional safety with my partner, I would shut down, I would hide, I would disassociate, I would try to pretend like I wasn't suffering in PMDD just to make the other person happy. And so I'm going to go over 10 reasons why the PMDD partner that you have really does impact your PMDD symptoms. And the first one is emotional safety, because emotional safety impacts your stress levels. And what I mean by that is when you have a supportive PMDD partner, and if you haven't joined my course, My Partner Has PMDD Now What, this is when I go all the way through this. But a supportive PMDD partner helps you regulate your nervous system. And so this is going to help you reduce the stress that you have when you're in premenstrual dysphoric disorder. So I had to ask myself whenever I was going through the vetting process of who am I going to be with in this companionship relationship, right? Because remember, I said that's what I need at this phase of my life. I'm not saying I'm never going to have I'm never going to get married again. I'm never going to have a full-on PMDD partner. But what I'm saying is for this phase of my life, a companion is something that I really, really need for the phase of life I am, for the healing that I had to do. And honestly, it is so healing. Being in a companionship, I don't even, well, you call it a relationship. Being in a relationship with someone who regulates my nervous system is so healing because it reduces the stress that I have, which is a major PMDD trigger. If you have premenstrual dysphoric disorder and you are stressed, your PMDD symptoms are going to be worse. If you have premenstrual dysphoric disorder and you experience stress, your PMDD symptoms are going to be exasperated. They are going to be worse. You are going to suffer more. So what that means is you need to choose a partner that is able to regulate your nervous system. Does that mean that you don't have to do the work to regulate your nervous system yourself? No, that means they need to help you regulate your nervous system, not take over the whole job of regulating your nervous system. Not that you go off on PMDD rage and you're just all over the place and you're irritable and your partner just has to take it. No, what I'm saying is when you are in the process of regulating your nervous system, they are assisting you in it. You are openly communicating, this is what I'm doing to regulate my nervous system. Can you help me with this? So if you're working with me and you're my private client and you're saying that rage or irritability is one of the biggest things that is doing damage in your PMDD relationship, and I give you tools on how to regulate your nervous system. How are you feeling? When you feel triggered, what is the irritability? How are you going off? What are the things that you're doing that you don't like? What is that side of you? And I'm helping you do that. And you communicate that to your partner. Your partner should be helping you. Your partner should say, okay, what are the tools that Dr. Rose gave you in order to regulate your nervous system? Which means basically to calm down. In layman's terms and basic terms, what this means is you need to be with a partner that allows you to calm down in whatever way that makes you feel your best. And for me, a lot of times it's my PMDD partner's morning routine. Not a lot of times, most times. It's my PMDD partner's morning routine. I've said this once, I'll say it again. Without this morning routine, this PMDD partner's morning routine, my PMDD symptoms would 100% be worse. I would not be the version of myself that I am in my luteal phase if I didn't have this morning routine. So what this means for me is when I'm choosing a partner, I need to choose a partner that is supportive of me having this morning routine. Simple as that. That's what I said. I said, you know what? I need to continue to do the things that I need to do to regulate my nervous system because I wake up in my luteal phase and I experience the bulk of my symptoms. So it really is a matter of knowing yourself. You really have to get to know yourself and say, when do I suffer the most? And if you know that you suffer the most in the morning, or if you even say it's all day, no, really, you have to drill down. You have to go deep. You have to go deep here. When do you experience the most symptoms? For some clients, it's at night. It's their high functioning PMDD, sufferers, and they go, they get up and they go and they got to do this and they have to do this for the kids and they have this project and they have this. And when they go to sleep at night or when they try to go to sleep at night, that's when all of their PMDD symptoms come rushing in because they don't have anything to distract themselves on that. They don't have anything to distract themselves. So they're dealing with the bulk of their symptoms. And so if this is the case, you need a PMDD partner's evening routine. You really need an evening routine that allows you to deal with your PMDD symptoms. And so I would ask you, and it can be afternoon, the time of day doesn't really matter. The time of day that you have a routine that regulates your nervous system doesn't matter. And if you want me to do a separate episode on my PMDD partner's morning routine, again, I know if you're my private client, you know what it looks like because I help all of my clients develop a routine. There's something that I put in their day-to-day process when they're in their luteal phase that helps them regulate their nervous system. And I give them feedback that they're able to give their partner to, support them in that. So the first thing that you need to do is ask yourself, after you've developed this routine, step one is you need to get a routine, whether it's morning, whether it's afternoon, whether it's evening, whether it's midday, whether it's a routine that you just do whenever you know that you're feeling overwhelmed and you're stressed, you do this routine. Ask yourself, is your partner supportive of your routine? Is your partner supportive of the things that you do to regulate your nervous system? That's something that you need to have in a supportive PMDD partner, and a supportive PMDD companion, in someone that you're dating with, with PMDD. And then the next thing is conflict. How your partner handles conflict will impact your PMDD symptoms. I wish that I could scream this from the rooftop, because had I known this, I would have gotten myself out of a lot of PMDD rage arguments, because conflict can worsen PMDD rage. The way your partner handles conflict can worsen you experiencing PMDD rage, because if your partner gets defensive, if your partner dismisses your feelings or minimizes your feelings, if your partner is argumentative, if your partner doesn't listen to you, it is going to escalate your PMDD rage. Instead of you being able to calm down, it is going to make you go off on PMDD rage. And this is going to be directly correlated to the way your partner responds to conflict. I had to learn this the hard way. I cannot be with someone that handles conflict with yelling, with cursing, with an aggressive tone. This is because I experienced childhood trauma and this level of verbal, and it turned into physical abuse. The reason why the hurtful words and the defensiveness and the arguing and the yelling made me shut down or made me go off on PMDD rage was because I had so much fear, because in my home growing up, verbal abuse turned into physical abuse. And cognitively in my brain, when someone yells at me and curses at me and they go off and I feel unsafe, I assume that it's going to turn into physical abuse. Has that ever happened to me in my PMDD relationships? No, thank God. But your brain trauma is stored in the body. My body doesn't know the difference between it happening to me as a child or it happening to me as an adult. So it's that fight or flight. So what my body and my mind was telling me every single time I had exes that yelled in conflict or cursed in conflict was, they're going to hit you. They're going to push something over. It's going to hit you. You're going to get hurt physically. And honestly, for me, it hurt me more emotionally, verbally than physically. When I had physical abuse growing up, it wasn't necessarily the physical abuse that was the most damaging to me. It was the verbal abuse. And it almost still makes me get to tears today, because I was thinking to myself, how can someone that loves me so much talk to me so horribly? And that's why the hurtful words hurt me so much. And the yelling hurt me so much, because there was no care. There was no concern. There was no gentleness. There was no kindness. There was no feeling adored. There was no feeling safe. There was no, because I think I would be okay with knowing that someone yelled and cursed like to other people. Like if that's just their personality and they're just someone that's just very, robust, or maybe they have a job where they have to yell at people. I don't know. I never have an issue with that, but I would like to think that the person that I am in an intimate relationship with, that I'm in a partnership with, that I'm in a companionship with, values me so much, loves me so much, that they're willing to be kind to me, that they can regulate their own emotions enough to calm themselves down and talk to me with kindness, with love, because that's love to me. Love is not, I'm going to talk to you however I feel in the moment because I'm just pissed off. Love is, I love them enough that I'm going to be so gentle with them. Corinthians in the Bible, 1 Corinthians 13 says, love is patient, love is kind. And then you can go on with the scripture. And I always look at that. I even have that whole quote up in my house. My house has a lot of quotes. And when I always look at that scripture and I say, love is patient, love is kind, it can really stop there for me. That's like the basics. So I had to really think to myself, when I'm dating someone, when we are in conflict, not when they're just nice and everything's going their way. Of course, they're patient. Of course, they're kind. It's easy for people to be patient and kind when everything's going their way. But if I say no, if I say I can't go on date night or I can't do this, when I say no and that I can't do something that you want me to do, and then we get into conflict about it or we disagree about it, how are you going to treat me? Are you still going to treat me with love? Are you still going to treat me with kindness? So that was the next thing that I really had to think about when I was choosing a partner. So I almost waited. I didn't almost wait. I waited until we had a disagreement. I didn't get into the mistake of dating someone in my follicular phase and nothing ever going wrong and me choosing that person. I chose a person when we had a conflict and I was like, okay, let me see how this person handles it. I'm not telling this person how they're going to handle conflict because honestly, I really wanted the person to be themselves so that I was able to choose. The only way I was able to choose is to let them be themselves. And then I decide if that's something that I can handle in my luteal phase. So we had a disagreement. In my luteal phase, I expressed how I felt, which I always do. And what they did was I waited to see, and they literally apologized immediately. They immediately apologized and said, oh, I didn't mean it that way. Because honestly, the way I perceived it wasn't how they meant it. And instead of getting defensive, they said, oh, I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean it that way. But if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. And what that did was it diffused any conflict that we had immediately because they had empathy, which if you have not gotten my course, my partner has PMDD, now what? And I give you the 7 characteristics of a supportive PMDD partner. Empathy is number 1. So there goes your sneak peek. And they were showing me that they had the ability to feel offended because I'm pretty sure they felt offended if I was accusing them of something that, they didn't do. So they were like, no, that's not what I meant. But they said, but you know what I did, even though that's not what I intended, if what I did hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. What can I do to make it better? That's literally what they said. And then they gave me a hug and literally the conflict went away. That was it. And every single time we've had a disagreement, that's how it's handled. And that's what I know that I need. And it's so clear to me because PMDD rage wasn't even an option because when the response was met with, again, no defensiveness, no dismissiveness, no argumentative, no yelling, no cursing, it was met with emotional intelligence and pretty much just saying, I don't want to fight with you. I don't want this conflict. How can we make this better? There was no PMDD rage. So that's how it impacts your PMDD symptoms. And what my partner did was it was validating versus gaslighting. So a validating PMDD partner reassures you that your feelings are real. So by him saying to me, even though I didn't mean it that way, if it hurt your feelings, and I'm pretty sure that it did, I'm sorry. While a dismissive and a gaslighting PMDD partner will make you question yourself, which is going to worsen your PMDD symptoms because you're already confused. You already have brain fog. You already have irritability. You already have rage. And if someone is making you prove to them that you are justified in feeling how you feel, they're gaslighting you. And it's going to make your symptoms worse because you're literally going to feel so misunderstood, so frustrated, so unsupported, so unseen, so unheard. And your PMDD symptoms are absolutely going to be worse. So the difference is between a PMDD partner that is going to validate your feelings, regardless of whether they intended to do it or not. They're going to apologize, regardless of if they offended it, if they intended to do it or not. They're going to let their pride go, let their ego go, stop trying to defend themselves, and they're not going to gaslight you. They're not going to make you prove. It doesn't matter. You should be able to say to your partner that you're offended about something, and that's it. You should be able to say to your PMDD partner that you're hurt about something, and that's it. That should be enough for them to want to be like, you know what? I don't want my partner to feel offended. I don't want my partner to feel hurt. Let me do what it takes to make it better. Let me apologize. Partners that are not willing to do that are in the pride, they're in the ego. They're like, I'm not apologizing for that. You're just so sensitive. Another thing that a partner can do to really help you in your PMDD symptoms is give you predictability and stability. It really does reduce your level of anxiety and PMDD and your luteal phase if you know that your partner is stable with their emotions, if you know that your partner is predictable with their emotions. One of the things that I know that I needed was a calm PMDD partner, a calm PMDD companion. I needed someone calm because I didn't need, there's times in my luteal phase where I'm confused, I'm irritable, I'm this, and I didn't need someone that was going to, match my energy. No. I needed a consistent and emotionally stable companion because it created a safe environment for me. I know that regardless of what happens in my luteal phase, my partner's not going to yell at me. My partner's not going to curse at me. My partner's not going to make me feel like a piece of crap. My partner is not going to not make me feel safe. But an unpredictable, reactive PMDD partner is going to create anxiety, and it's going to increase your PMDD symptoms because you're never going to know. You're going to be coming home, you're going to be talking to them, and you're never going to know how they're going to emotionally react. And you don't feel safe when your partner is very unstable emotionally, when they're all over the place. You feel absolutely out of control. You feel on edge. You feel like you're walking on eggshells. You never know what you're walking into. And this could be the partner that has PMDD or the partner that doesn't. If you feel like you're walking on eggshells, it's because you never know what you're going to get out of your partner emotionally. You never know what you're going to get out of your partner and how it's going to impact your mental state. And that really is going to worsen your symptoms. So I will say this, I said this once, I said this again. Partners of individuals who have PMDD do have symptoms. If you haven't read my dissertation, I literally wrote hundreds of pages on how partners can have symptoms because they're walking on eggshells and they never know how the partner with PMDD is going to react. They never know how they're going to be in their luteal phase. And it literally can cause them so far to having suicidal ideation. Go read my dissertation if you don't believe me. It's based off of research that I did. It's based off of hundreds of PMDD partners that I interviewed over the course of years. And they literally had symptoms because they were walking on eggshells. And so the next way that you can really dictate how your partner is going to impact your PMDD symptoms is how you communicate. Communication in your luteal phase can make or break your PMDD experience, honestly. A partner who listens and communicates with patience can really, really help you during your PMDD cycles. Where if you have poor, inconsistent communications, you're always having misunderstandings, you're always arguing, you're always fighting, your communication sucks, your communication is trash, it's going to impact your PMDD symptoms. It's going to make your PMDD symptoms worse. And then also the next thing is your partner's coping skills. How does your partner cope when they're either in their luteal phase or when they're triggered by you being in your luteal phase? How do they cope with that? What are the coping mechanisms that they have? Do they take things personally and always think that a conversation is an attack? If you bring something up, are they feeling like you're attacking them? Are you feeling like you can never really discuss anything without it turning into an argument? Or are they able to remain calm? One of the things that I said that I value so much, and I made the decision to have this companion, is because we could talk about things that were hard. We could have the hard conversations and we could just get through them. And they remain calm and loving. That's another thing. Remain calm and loving. Whatever your love language is, can they still express their love language in the middle of conflict? Or are they shutting down? Are they like, don't touch me? If your love language is physical touch and they're refusing to touch you because they're pissed off at you, you're going to be hurt by that in your PMDD, in your luteal phase. You're going to feel rejected. You already have rejection sensitivity in your luteal phase. So that's going to make it worse, right? So the next thing is, do they have empathy? Do they remind you that you're not alone in this? It reduces isolation. If you feel like you can't go to your partner with your PMDD symptoms because they're not going to be able to handle them, it's going to make your PMDD symptoms worse. You're going to feel alone. I remember feeling like that. Like I literally did not want my partner to even know that I was in my luteal phase, know that I had PMDD, because I knew that they couldn't handle it. And so I had to ask myself, I need to, am I choosing a partner that can handle me being in my luteal phase? If I'm not as interactive, if I'm not as high vibe, if I'm not as, all over the place and so happy go lucky, are they going to be able to handle me? And when I got in my luteal phase and my energy was lower, I was suffering with fatigue. We just did less things. We did stuff that was like actually fun. We cuddled and we watched movies and we went on a calming walk. And we held hands and I felt safe and I didn't feel bad for being in my luteal phase. I didn't feel like a piece of crap because I was suffering in PMDD. I actually felt supported. I felt like it was okay. I felt like it was healthy for me to go slower in my luteal phase, which was something that I never, ever felt comfortable doing. I'm finally okay with taking it slow. I feel loved and supported. And so the last one is love shouldn't add to your suffering. Being in your PMDD relationship should not add to your suffering. Your relationship honestly should be a source of comfort, not another trigger. So if you know that you're having triggers in your PMDD relationship, you need to control them by managing them, by getting to the root cause of the trigger, which is something that I work with my private clients with. And then your partner should be willing to work with you, not against you, not be making you feel like, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't have PMDD and I have to work on this. You should not feel shame for having premenstrual dysphoric disorder. You didn't ask for this. I didn't ask for this. You didn't ask for this. PMDD is not our fault, but it is our responsibility to manage. So you shouldn't feel like you have a partner that makes you feel like crap for having PMDD. You should be with someone that acknowledges that you have PMDD and they're willing to learn more about it and to learn how to be a supportive PMDD partner so that they add to your experience. And so they say to you, honestly, I know that you have PMDD. I know that you suffer in your luteal phase. How can I make it better? And then you in turn recognize, I know that I'm different in my luteal phase. Like you come to terms with that if you suffer with PMDD. I know that I'm different in my luteal phase. How can I make your experience better for the partner that doesn't have PMDD? If both of you have that mindset of making the luteal phase experience better for each other, and you're both willing to give to each other in the luteal phase, you're going to have an amazing PMDD relationship. You're going to have an amazing PMDD dating experience. But if you go into it with, I need to get my needs met, what can you do to meet my needs? And if you can't do it, then this relationship is going to be hell. I'm going to act differently towards you if you're not able to meet my needs. You're not going to have a supportive PMDD relationship. It's actually going to make your PMDD symptoms worse. So if you're listening to this and you know that, number one, your partner is not exhibiting the qualities that you need in the luteal phase, I'm not saying that you need to break up. I never tell you that. I'm saying now you know what you need to work on. So when you come to me for these counseling sessions, we really go deep and we do the work, which it is work, it is effort, it is rewiring your PMDD brain. And for the partner that doesn't have PMDD, it's giving you the tools as to what you can do in your luteal phase so that you get your needs met too. It's not just about the partner that is suffering with PMDD. It's about the partner that doesn't have PMDD and working together in your PMDD relationship. So if this is something that you know that you need help with, go to inlovewithpmdd.com, get those counseling sessions, join the membership. The link is going to be in the show notes. It's going to say PMDD Power Couples, and we're going to be working on all of these things. So until next time, we got this. I love you. I hope these tools help you and your PMDD partner. If you have not enrolled to get the course, My Partner Has PMDD, now what? Then you want to make sure that you are one of the first 12 individuals that gets the course for the month of December to get that complimentary private session with me. And then after that, it'll go back to regular price without the private sessions. But what this course is going to do for you is give your partner all of the tools that they need on how to be a supportive PMDD partner. What does that look like? I always say that your partner doesn't need more information. They need more implementation. They need more transformational tools. And this is the program for you. So I'm looking forward to you getting those tools in the program. And until next episode, we got this.